Welcome to another Ed Talks Daily. I'm going to be talking about creating heaven within you and stop experiencing hell. Somebody want to know what do I mean by creating heaven within you and stop experiencing hell? Heaven can be a state of mind. It just means, are you elevated? Are you in your higher power, or are you in your lower self? Heaven within is like when you live in your higher power, your higher self. Hell is when you reside too much in your lower self. So sometimes where the money reside can be your lower self. And if you want to tap in to like what you really want, which is a lot of people want to be fulfilled, they want to be happy, they want to feel good about themselves, then what you got to do is you got to start creating an environment that facilitates heaven inside of you. So that's what I'm going to be talking about. So keep tapping in with me. All of us at some point, we was just sitting down, and all of a sudden it's like, bro, nothing is actually wrong outside, but it seems like everything is wrong inside, right? It seems like you got your bills are paid, you got everything going for you as it relates to your needs, but there's something that's missing and you don't know what's there. It's like it's creating a hell within you. Or sometimes there's like sometimes we feel the heat all the time. Like we feel the heat in our bodies, we feel the heat in our sleep. Grand rising, grand rising. So sometimes we feel the heat. We feel the heat and we keep feeling the heat. We feel inflamed and we're experiencing hell in our bodies because we're experiencing pain, both mental pain and physical pain, right? We're experiencing both the mental and physical and the spiritual. That is definitions of hell. So not only some people are going through tough times of massive migraines or digestive tract issues or anxiety, grand rising from Miami. So many people are going through so much and it's so painful externally, and then they got to go back in and deal with the pain internally. So if you're dealing with both external and internal pain, then let me ask you a question. Life is hell, isn't it? So that's what I mean by heaven is a state of mind you can create within yourself. It's a state of mind you create when you're closer to joy, when you're closer to your higher self, when there's more balance, when there's more health. Heaven is a state you create inside when there's a sense of um, everlasting abundance, when there is light, when the light has created a new higher plane of experiencing your being. That is the heaven within. Now, I'm not here to debate whether there's a heaven or a hell. That's a debate which I'm not going to have right now, right? This is not the heaven I'm having. This is not the debate I'm having. There's no debate. What I'm trying to bring out to you is this. Heavens and hell can be a state of mind in the world as we live and experience life on this plane. So somebody says, my life feels like hell. Well, what is causing the hellish tendencies, the hellish feelings? Let's go back to that. So as you tap into this episode, by the way, this is a podcast episode. I'm live, but I'm doing a podcast. I want you to remember that I'm going to speak to you from a place of no mind, right? I'm also going to speak to you from a place of how can I be a vessel to share this with you. I'm not speaking of you from a judgment place. I'm not excluding myself from it. I'm not making myself grander. So just want you to tap in to what I'm about to say, okay? All right, now that I made the disclaimer, here's what I want you to think about. Boom. Heaven and hell. What are the conditions that create heaven within you? What are the conditions that create hell within you? This is the question that need answered. You want to know what are the conditions that create heaven within you? Well, the conditions in which your body is aligned with the principles and the laws that are innately hardwired in the human spirit in the world. That's hardwired in nature. So when you live in accordance to nature's terms, as it relates to balancing your body, working with the elements, you can create heaven within. Right? Somebody says, is creating heaven or hell within have to do with right or wrong? Is this a spiritual, religious thing? Not necessarily, but it does have a lot to do with it. Not on the right or wrong because of what they said, but the right or wrong for you. Yes, creating a heaven and hell within you has to do with rights and wrongs, but not rights and wrongs as it relates to rules and laws and regulations and judgments, but rights and wrongs as what's right for your body, what's right for your mind, what's right for your spirit, and what's right for your soul. So heaven and hell is created within a man or a woman based on the decisions to choose what's right and what's best for them. So somebody says, oh, am I punished by hell inside of me when I don't do what's right for me? Exactly. That's exactly the case. When you don't do what's right for you, you experience heaven, you experience hell within you because you are going off course of nature's balance. You are messing up the balance, or you're causing a block in the energy system, which I talked to about that yesterday. And keep tapping in with me. I want you to know I'm not always going to make complete sense to you, but you got to follow the thought, and the thought will lead you into you might say, oh, I get that. So just follow the thought. Okay? Follow the thought. So right is right for me. So somebody says, okay, what is right for me? What is right? How should I live my life? I don't got that answer specifically. But what I can say for you is what when you put in elevates your spirit, and what when you put in drains it. What when you do lifts you up, and what when you do drain you and heat you up. You're going to be able to tell by the reward that you're going to get from that thing. So somebody says, what's right or right wrong? I'm not going to tell you what's right or right wrong. I want you to let your experience of life tell you. Let your experience of life tell you what's right or what's wrong. Because you either ways you're going to feel the effects of what you're doing. You're going to feel the effects, and it's going to create hell or it's going to create heaven. Somebody says, describe hell to me. Hell is inflammation. Somebody says to me, describe hell to me. Hell is the lack of a vision. Describe hell to me. Hell is continuous pain every single day in mind and body. Describe hell to me. Hell is following a leader that drains you and uses you and abuses you. That's hell. What is hell? Hell is repeating the same scene every day that brings you dramatic pain, yet you're not escaping from it because you are the own master of this dungeon being created. So when I speak of hell within, I'm talking about the self-perpetuating pains or sufferings that we say that that we subconsciously keep indulging in, not always because we just don't want to act, but sometimes we don't know how to act. Sometimes we don't know how to act out of inflammation. Sometimes we don't know how to balance our internal organs. Sometimes we don't know how to breathe the anxiety out of the body. So the hell that's created within sometimes come out of ignorance. I like to call this an ignorance. All right? Somebody wants to know, don't confuse me. What's an ignorance? An ignorance is when your ignorance got you in the trance, and you're following a path that does not best serve you, but because you didn't know what you didn't know, so you fall in the ditch. They say a blind man cannot lead another blind man. So guess what? When you don't know where you're headed. And most of the people that are leading us are blind. So if you're being led by a blind man and you follow what they say, surely you're going to end up in a mental hell space. Here's what I mean. What are the blind men's? I want you to really tap in. Most of the things that you think is right is being led by blind men and women. Here's what I mean. You think the authorities are like telling you what's really good for you to help you with your health during COVID. But nobody ever said build your immune system. So you wondering, why am I so fearful and anxious and all of this? Well, that's because you're following the blind. And now I don't mean to say, oh, you're intentionally following them. No, you're not even really following them. It's just that you're not following something specific. So once you follow nothing, you automatically put in a something category that you didn't choose. You know how you didn't pick a group in high school? And they'd be like, hey, Johnny, yeah, which group you want to be in? Johnny says nothing. Johnny says, I don't even want to do this assignment. I want to ask you about this. Are you living your life like Johnny? Right? When you're not neither cold or warm, neither cold or hot, you just like, you're warm. So when you live the life of Johnny, you get thrown in any box that somebody feels fit. And guess what? You didn't get in the ignorant trance. Not the trance because you stick to, oh, this is what I believe, this is what I believe. But the trance of not knowing. The trance is not making a choice. To not make a choice is to make a choice to be led by someone else and not led by your higher power. To not make a choice is to make a choice to be led by someone else and not your higher power. So you create hell within you when you don't choose which side you want to be in. Somebody says, are you talking about, is this religion? No, I'm putting the same concepts in the mental thing. I want you to tap in. You create hell within you when you don't make a side, when you don't pick a side. It's either you're going to pick the side of health or you're going to pick the side of death. I want you to pick a side. You have to make a decision that I'm going to live, and I'm going to live life the best I possibly can live it. And I'm going to have a great experience of joy, of gratitude, of bliss and love. You have to pick a side. Now, I'm not talking about you picking a side when it relates to religion. I'm just saying pick a side that says, hey, I want to experience the best possible life that there is for me. That's all I'm saying, right? I'm not saying, yo, pick this side, pick my side. I'm just saying pick the side of how you want to experience your life. In fact, pick the side of your higher power. So after you leave this life, you have a decision to make. I'm going to really live in my carnal nature, carnal meaning the body, carnal meaning the memorized ways of being, carnal meaning your lower self. I'm going to reside in my carnal nature. I'm going to make the decision that causes inflammation in my body, stress and tension in my heart and lungs, and just overall depression. Or you have to make a decision that I'm going to choose to reside on the side of my higher power. So I'm going to make the best choice as it relates to the foods that I eat, the air that I breathe, how I move, the conversation that I have, and what I let come into my temple. That's the sides that we're choosing. Each side is part of you. You must choose how you're going to live your life. Whether you're going to live it in righteousness in accordance to the laws of nature, or you're going to live it in, or what they're going to say, you're going to be one of these people who roam the earth and says, you know what? No righteousness. Let's put forth evil towards my own body. Let's do evil in the world. And what is evil? When you say, hey, I'm going to do an act against me, that is surely evil. Somebody says, when I'm angry at them, how can I be evil? That's not evil. Well, it's not evil. Anger is an emotion. Anger does not make you evil. But however, what it's doing is it's robbing your joy. So we don't look at emotions like they're bad, or I don't look at actions or sins like they're bad, but I say, why would I let these robbers come in and rob the best possible way I can experience it? So somebody says, okay, well, all right, let me see. I'm trying to heal from my sexual traumas. So I'm really trying to heal from and then all these people out here, and it's hard for me to deal with my relationships because, I still have carnal needs and whatsoever, but I'm trying to heal. right? So let's get here, right? Let's get to this serious spot. I want to heal from sexual traumas. Let's be real, right? But then you have to choose a side when you want to heal, whether you're going to remain in your carnal self or you're going to tap into your higher power. Sometimes tapping into your higher power to heal from sexual traumas is you have to cultivate the sexual energy and redirect it properly. So a lot of times to heal, we have to we have to pick the side of the two. It's either A, I'm going to get the temporary satisfaction from my carnal pleasure, or B, I'm going to get the long-term fulfillment for choosing to be on the side of my spirit. What's the difference? Somebody says, well, you know what? I don't want to stop having sex because there's nothing wrong with sex. You're right. If it wasn't for sex, you wouldn't be here. We're created by sex. Sex is, we have to multiply. However, if you're trying to heal and your hormones are out of balance and the energies you acquire from other spiritual bodies throw you out of balance, if you're trying to heal and sex is creating hell within you, wouldn't it be wise to choose the side of no sex so you can create heaven within? Right? So you can be more aligned and less intruded by other energies of other beings. So I say to people, you don't choose the size of like telling the truth just because it's the right thing to do. You tell the truth because then you don't have to deal with putting out the fires that lies make up. When you put up a lot of lies, you're creating more hells. Because now you got to deal with more conflict that's going to rise later on rather than dealing with the one conflict of being truthful. Here's how acts against yourself, which we normally call sins, affect you. Let's say you go out here and somebody pissed you off. For some reason, they just pissy. And you decided that instead of, talking it out or expressing how you feel, you're just going to eradicate this person from the world. In other ways, you're about to catch your body. You're about to catch your body because you're only living out of your body thinking you're somebody and you're not living out of your spirit. So let's say, hypothetically, somebody's about to catch a body simply because somebody pissed them off. Why would you want to catch a body when out of that one circumstance, catching a body is going to bring you years of hell? Sometimes I'm not telling you to make the right choice because it's the right choice. I'm saying make the right choice for you so that you don't experience hell within you. Do you want to have those demons come back and haunt you for the one time this person said something that was not, they shouldn't have said? Do you want to give somebody the escape? Okay, somebody, don't quote me on this. Let's say you really hated this person, and do you want to give somebody an out from a miserable life? Some people, they have a miserable life and they're imposing their miserable on you. I want you to listen to this with a non-judgmental. I'm not talking about you. I'm saying somebody want to kill somebody because you hate them, because you can't stand them, because they're miserable, because they're causing you misery. Whatever. Once again, this is just an observation. Why would you want to get rid of somebody from the miserable life to create your own miserable life? No, you don't want to do that. So that's just a different way of saying you don't want to kill somebody because it kills you. Not immediately, not of the body, but of the spirit. It adds a dark cloud on top of your head, and everywhere you go, you're experiencing mental and spiritual storms. So I say to you, do the right thing, not because it just is the right thing, but because the right thing for you, done long enough over time, creates heaven within you. The right thing done just for you, long enough over times, create heaven within you. The wrong thing repeated every day depletes your power, hence creates hell within you. The difference is one thing is on the side of wholeness and on the side of balance. The other thing throws you off the scale, and it's on the side of inflammation, and it throws you off balance. And that's how we experience hell or heaven within us. So somebody want to know, okay, I got that whole concept. So right, we're not, this is not to judge you to say, oh, you're doing good by your thoughts, or you're doing good by what you're eating, you're doing good by your food, because there's a man outside of you wants to judge you for that. This is for you to reflect and look within you and choose what you want to experience. So when you choose to guard your sexual energy, you're choosing to say, I want to experience creation when I have sex, and not somebody using me because I'm not a being that's used. When you choose not to lie and tell the truth, you're choosing to say, hey, I don't want to put out fires every day. I don't want to lie to cover lies. I want to live my life in truth. I don't want to block my throat chakra, not only because I'm telling other people lies, but I'm lying to myself. Because sometimes to tell lies, you gotta lie to yourself. And that's too much. I don't want to sacrifice that. Somebody says, okay, I don't want to eat this food because I don't want to create inflammation in my physical body, which then leads to disease in my body, which then makes me feel I'm having headaches, I'm having back problems. I don't want to have a certain lifestyle of the lack of movement, because if I don't move, my body, the blood is not flowing, I have severe stagnation, and that affects me negatively. Choosing heaven is saying that I'm going to make the best choices, so while I'm here, I can experience life in its higher form and not in its lowest form. So choosing heaven is choosing not only how you perceive life, but how you receive the things that's happening, but also how you live your life. There's two things: observation, right? What you're observing, and whether you choose to either identify with what you observe or you choose to watch what you observe. When you become the watcher, this is the sure way of creating heaven within you, right? So who watches over us to make sure we're doing right by ourselves? Who watches over us to make sure that we're doing right by ourselves? Most people would say God. This is true. However, what is the tool that God utilizes? A component of your brain. This has been hardwired. The watcher has been hardwired in your brain, y'all. So we have the neocortex and we have the frontal lobe. The watcher has been hardwired in your brain, and it communicates right back to you in the form of guilt, shames, all types of things. You feel it. When you do something that is not right, whatever right really means, you feel that, man, I didn't do right by myself. Right? And God almost uses that guide inside of you to kind of tell you what you're doing right by and what you're doing not so right by. So in the infinite way, you just kind of have to listen to you. And then you'll be able to create more heaven. So somebody says, oh, okay, so you're saying you want to observe and identify less. When you observe and identify less, you use the tool that God gave you, which is observation, which opens up door for redemption or salvation. Observation without condemnation opens up doors for observation without condemnation opens up door for true salvation. Observation without condemnation opens up doors for true salvation. I want you to write this down, yo. This is deep. It's coming to me right now. Observation without condemnation opens up doors for true salvation. So I know I'm rhyming them, Well, there's a reason why my mind rhymes stuff, because it sinks in, right? So here's what I mean. When you're able to observe you as a being and say, this is what I'm doing, and notice that it's your carnal being acting out of your power, and you don't condemn yourself for doing it or having done it, you are being a forgiving being. And to forgive is to save. You save yourself every day and create heaven within you when you don't condemn yourself to the acts, when you watch the acts and allow the guide within you to allow you to respond by letting go and then choosing forth a new path. Henceforth, observation without condemnation leads to true salvation. Observing your being every day and what you do against yourself, and then sitting in silence, releasing those acts, and being in touch with those acts, acknowledging those acts, and then acting on that knowledge, what that does for you is it frees your spirit, regardless of what you done that you thought was bad. Remember what I said, it's best to not do the acts that wrongfully affects you, but it's better to do the acts that rightfully empowers you, right? I'm saying don't indulge in too much foods because they say that's gluttony, because, well, that's going to affect you mentally. I say make sure you move, because if you don't move, you're going to have stagnation that leads to inflammation, and you have a lot of pain. Hence, you're experiencing hell within. I say don't let anybody intrude your sexual spots, right? Because if you do without choosing the right ones, you're taking in that energy, you're throwing yourself out of balance. Not because of the judgment or the condemnation, but simply because you said, hey, I do not want to be, I don't want to experience life this way. But the next thing is, after it has happened, if you live your life and I observe what happens, I do not condemn me for what happens, and I ask for forgiveness within me and from the higher power, then you are leveling up, my friend. And that's how you truly create heaven within, is when you say, hey, I choose to stand strong. I choose to see what's happening, and I choose to do differently without condemning me. So stop condemning yourself by identifying with the experience or what's happening. Here's what I mean. We condemn ourselves when we identify with one representation of our past state of thinking. We condemn ourselves when we identify with one representation of our past state of thinking. Everything you did then is a representation of how you thought then. And what you did then was how you thought then. What you thought then was what your carnal was. Because we don't think in our mind like we really think. We think in our bodies. Our mind is our entire body is a mind. It memorizes and houses not only the emotional states, but the traumas. People can touch you at a certain spot and spark up a high memory loop. So our bodies house the memories. So what must we do? We have to stop identifying with us based on how we used to think, and identify us with the idea that we are the thing that is thinking. So when we identify with how we used to think, this is the ego. When we identify with how we used to be, we are attached to the past. But when we identify with how we can be, we are getting back in touch with the being, with the spirit. When we say, hey, the being that perpetuated this sort of thinking and this hell within, this same being has the power to create heaven within. That decision transforms your life, because you're like, yo, if I can think and act and I can create hell, therefore I can think and be and I can create heaven. Okay? So comment right now that this is making sense, if it's making sense. Like I said, I'm going deep, right? Sometimes I'll be like, try not to go too deep so everybody can, but I'll go deep, I'll slow it down, and I'll go back and I'll explain it again. Okay? I just don't want to stop my way of thinking, if you get what I'm saying. So, heaven or hell can be a mind state. And how do you create it? What is the best way, as I conclude this, what is one of the best ways to create heaven within you? Angry. So it's like it's difficult to put gratitude in any other high elevated emotional states. So one of the best ways to create heaven within you is to create an environment of gratitude. Have an attitude of gratitude and have a and keep praising. Right? So these are two very components. And then get in silence to create heaven within. Silence, praise, attitude of gratitude. Somebody says, how do I put all three together? Fast. Fasting is probably the most effective way of combining those multiple components into a specific ritual or action or steps of action to then be able to create heaven to the point where you know what it feels like and you want to do it for the rest of your life. So when you fast, you add the component of clearing out the inflammation, the heat in your body, because you are not eating any food. You also deal with the spirit, because when the body is clear, the spirit is more active. So remember this: if you want to create more heaven within you, then it's better to watch what you eat and not eat too much, because heaven has also to do with the void. And when you avoid certain foods and you create a void within your cells then create a whole universe of other cells that are better than the old cells that used to drain you. So hell is cellular. Hell is cellular. The decisions that you made have created a toxicity in the body, which is going in and causing you to react a certain way. So when you fast, you do a cellular cleanse, and that also causes you to be more in touch with your spirit, because when the cells are cleansed and there's less heat, there's less fires, you're not spending your time putting out fires, you could spend more times building up a ladder. And a ladder is built up when you're able to sit in silence. Putting out fires is, I have a heartburn, I got to take a heartburn medicine. I have a headache, I have to treat the medic. I have this pain, so I have to. When those pains are left from your body, you no longer live a life of putting fire. You live a life of creating the tables and the chairs. Because you're no longer living a life of maintaining pain. You're in a life of increasing the amount of pleasure, or enhancing how you tap into bliss. So, yeah, I went very... Anyways, let me not think any certain way. It was good. It was good for those who have ears, let them hear. Those who can hear this in this stage of their life, let them understand it. I speak in different ways at different times. But all I want to say is this. When you fast, you combine both the cellular transformation in your body with the spiritual connection that's happening in the shin field, with the hormonal rebalance in the jing field, and you're able to elevate your being from lower nature to higher nurture. So one of the best ways to create heaven within you is by fasting, right? And then you stay steadfast by keeping those same habits and rituals throughout your lifetime. Steadfasting, keeping those same habits and rituals throughout your lifetime. Then you start to be a type of person that intermittently fasts and that knows how to change up your cells and do the movements, the meditation, learn how to be in that silent state. So when you tap in, when you go to the mountaintop for a couple of weeks, a couple of days, and you communicate to God, make sure when you come back down, you keep that line open. So we fast to open the line, and then we stay steadfast to keep the line growing so we can keep on going. And then the whole life is staying as close as to God as you possibly can. Making the decisions out of your higher nature and not your lower being as much as you possibly can. Deciding to choose the side of righteousness is not of evil of the fools as much as you possibly can. Making what will best serve you, because what you do serves your spirit. And if you keep serving your spirit foods that's draining you, then you're draining you. So you got to serve yourself better nutrients, better spiritual food, mental food, physical food. So what you eat, what you drink, the media you consume, the books that you read, all of these things dictate your level of energy. And creating heaven or hell within you, it really starts with making a choice. You have to make a decision that I'm not going to live my life in deep suffering. I'm not going to live my life in deep pain. I'm not going to live my life experiencing the same anxiety tendencies. I'm not going to stay in this deep rest. I'm going to get up, I'm going to pick my bags, and I'm going to start walking. Because I have faith, I have a belief in my higher power. I have a belief that I'm not made to stay on the ground. Out of the ground I came, to the ground I shall return. But through the sky I will fly and experience life while I'm here on earth. Because if I know I'm a powerful being, then I will reside in that power. And I'm going to say this one. If you're full of power, if you're powerful, it means that you're full of power. If you're resourceful, that means you're full of resources. If you're successful, it means you're full of success. So my brother, don't fear growing because you're full of growth. Your very essence from your DNA said this. You came as a tiny baby, and your cells made sure to replicate and replicate. The only thing that your parents had to do is to make sure you get fed. So at the end of the day, you don't necessarily have to know how you're going to replicate, how your spirit is going to bring what you want out there. But all you got to say is, I'm going to feed my spirit. I'm going to feed my body. I'm going to feed my mind. And the Lord, the universe, takes care of the rest. Because there is a blueprint, there is an infinite source that permeates within all living things and directs how it works in the world. So what I'm saying for you is this. You don't need to know the how. You don't need to know the specific steps. All you got to do is this. Feed your body, feed your soul, feed your spirit, Get up every day, uplift yourself to do something, to elevate your being, the way of thinking, the way you see things, and then things will transform. And it won't take a day or 2 days. Your journey is going to be different than my journey. But soon enough, if you just do the daily things every single day, if you put forth the works, if you look at your body as a temple and you take care of that temple, you will surely create heaven within you. Heaven is not given. Hell is not given. It's created. And I'll ask you, create heaven in you today, tomorrow, the next day, the next week. Create heaven in you for your life. Your life is in your hands. Tap into your spirit and stop living out of your body. You are more than somebody. You're a powerful spirit. You're more than somebody. You're a powerful spirit. The beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Your beauty does not lie in your booty. Your beauty lies in your spirit. It is who you are that makes you valuable, and it's not what you have. So with that being said, man, I am grateful that I'm here to do this. I'm grateful that I can do the podcast, and I know that this was a blessing. So since it was a blessing, I'm grateful I was able to be a blessing to you today. So you stay blessed in your power. Just so you know, you're watching me live, but this is a podcast. And I want everybody watching now to go to this website and subscribe. Go to edtalksdaily.com and subscribe to the podcast. There's a newsletter. Subscribe to the newsletter, and you will be able to tap in to these continuous episodes where I bring you a topic. You never know what to expect, but what I do know for sure is that every time that you show up, you're going to get one of the best things. You're going to get one of the best talks. You're going to get something that really pushes you, and you're like, yo, I'm down, let's grow. So I invite y'all to go to edtalksdaily.com and subscribe to the podcast. And listen, if you're already subscribed, make sure you tap in and leave your boy a review. Go leave a review for the podcast. Let the people know how this impacted you. And with that being said, stay in your power. Remember, you have the unlimited power in you to achieve whatever it is that you want. To create heaven within you and stop experiencing hell. But it depends on what choice you're going to make after the podcast. Like, yo, am I going to choose to actually, do these things? Or am I going to choose to just live my life sleepwalking? That's my message. And I am sticking to it. Peace.